And we're all on different time zones. We're in 24 countries at least. So,
yeah,
so the time zones are always kind of...
Well, we're in 3 different ones here, aren't we? Just.
All right, here we go. We're getting ready.
Okay.
We're going to go in right now.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered what hypnosis might be and what it can do for you? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Hypnosis Everywhere with your host, Inez Simpson. This is the show that talks to everyone, from the experienced practitioner to the cautiously curious, and yes, even the skeptics. Now, here's Inez Simpson.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Hypnosis Everywhere. We're going to have a great show today. I have Kaz Riley on today, and we're going to be talking about sex. And luckily for me, I have my cohort and SP trainer with me, Greg Beckett, and he's going to be my sidekick, even though Martin's sort of hovering in the background here. But before we start, because this show is going to run right to the end, and I'm afraid I'm not going to get this in. So I'm just going to say it first, and then we're going to start the show. I've been asked quite a bit about mentoring. So we've put together, it's not quite totally together yet, a mentoring program for people who are interested in being hypnotists but don't know where to take it and where to go. So we will mentor people through that, and we'll get it, we'll put out more information about that. And also, of course, for the SP students who want to get from being just an SP student to getting very, very adept at it. So anything you want to add to that, Martin, in your 2 minutes this little seconds we want to take?
I'm just being told to linger.
Well, linger and tell them about that.
Yeah, she's going to do a mentoring program because she gets a lot of requests that will take you, even if you just, as the show says, curious, and you just want to get a handle on what this hypnosis thing is, and maybe not take it too far, but just have an idea. Yeah. That plus take it all the way to SP if you want, advanced hypnosis.
So anyway, so that's it. I've got that in, and we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff, but I'm going to go right to Kaz Riley now, and I'm just going to ask her to give a little bit of background about herself and also how she came to hypnosis and how she sees hypnosis.
Hi, well, thank you for having me, first and foremost. You can probably tell I'm from the UK, I'm not from over there. I am a hypnotist based in the north of England, and I've been a full-time hypnotist now for 16 years. But I came into hypnosis after I discovered hypnosis at university. I just happened to take myself off to see the university counsellor, actually, and it just so happened to be a hypnotist, and my life was changed, and so was my life path from that very moment. I've used it everywhere in my life, from the birth of my children. I use it at the dentist, when I had a tattoo done, just generally, I live and breathe hypnosis. It's my absolute love and passion, as it is for many of us hypnotists. And my area of speciality, which is kind of what brings me to the show today, is sexual freedom hypnosis, which is very much about helping people to have the ability to choose to have a consenting and confident, satisfying sex life in the absence of sexual dysfunction, guilt and shame. And those are the things that often stop people having a really great time and connecting with their partners and enjoying a very normal and natural part of everybody's adult life, really. So that's a little bit about me.
That's great. And Greg, a little bit about you too, since you're being my sidekick today.
As a sidekick, Greg Beckett. I'm in Los Angeles, California. Been a hypnotist part-time and full-time for about 18 years. I am also a Simpson protocol trainer, and very interested in what Kaz has to say today. I get all sorts being in Los Angeles, so it's a good thing to always learn.
So just a slight reminder that, many in our audience are not hypnotists, but they're definitely sexual beings, because we all are, right? So I think this is a general appeal to everyone. So I'm just going to let you take charge, Cass, and head in the first direction that you would think would be the best.
All right. Okay. So I guess, first of all, is talking about what the underlying basis of sexual freedom and sexual freedom hypnosis is this very kind of sex positive way of thinking and living, in that, that we are all sexual beings, and it's perfectly okay to be a sexual being, and sex isn't a dirty thing. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, it comes in many flavors, shapes and forms, and it's something that we can all learn to love and enjoy. And also just really how common things like sexual dysfunctions are. I think I was saying before, you know, that up to 30 to 40% of the general population have a problem or an issue with their sexuality or sex life, which is a big number, isn't it? You know, so it does apply to everybody.
So I don't know if you've seen the chat there. Maybe just make sure you keep your volume up, and that's good. Both of you. Okay, great. So, okay. That was part of my job. There we go.
Hey, Kaz, you said something, you have a phrase or you have something that you say about sex and all of us, how we're all here. Could you repeat that we had talked about earlier, that we're all here due to?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, is, you know, for something, sex is so shrouded in so much mystery and so much guilt and shame. And yet there isn't a single person on the planet that could be here without it. You know, it's absolutely fundamental to the survival of the human race. In fact, you know, any mammalian, you know, species, really, this needs to happen. And, you know, I think people should be able to feel really comfortable and have fun doing it as well. That's the other thing. It's, you know, the wonderful thing about being human is that we can experience love and intimacy and sensuality as part of our everyday lives. And, you know, so many people are missing out on that because of some of the belief systems that perhaps they've been brought up with, or things that have happened to them. You know, and that goes for men and women. You know, I certainly see that issue more with women than I do with men, but it goes right across, you know, both sexes. But, you know, feeling that somehow enjoying sex is wrong, which is a terrible state of affairs in, you know, 2018, really, isn't it?
Well, remember the old term of, well, I had to suffer it, you know.
Yeah,
the old days, they were to suffer it. Well,
the phrase
suffering is pretty damn good, I think, for me.
Well, the phrase here was "lie back and think of England," and I'm thinking, no. You know, we want to be. We don't want to be lying back and thinking of England. We want to be. If we want to lie back and think of England, we want to be at least having an amazing time doing it, don't we? You know, and feeling some great things. So that's very much about. The work that I do is very much about putting people back in touch with their bodies, and it's almost taking away the focus of sex as being about orgasm and penetration. That's the other thing, you know.
Yes.
There's much more to sex than that, and certainly there's much more to great sex than just orgasm and penetration. And yet, you know, that's where everything seems to end up being focused, doesn't it? And you know, really the lead up, the journey to that can be absolutely amazing, can't it? So if you allow yourself just to let go and have fun with it.
A little flirtation goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's true. That, you know, if it was just a need, a biological need, there wouldn't be much fun to it. So you know, there's a lot more to it than just the biological need to keep the species going.
Absolutely.
You had mentioned something, Kaz, about connecting, right? Do you find a lot of issue coming from the internet, and that, you know what I'm talking about? Porn and internet, people thinking that that's reality, and
this is one of the biggest reasons for the increase that we're seeing in sexual dysfunction at the moment, and also in just people's perception of what normal sex is, which of course, you know, the pornography industry is very much, it's a very male-centric industry. That a lot of it is made by men for men. And, you know, the way that women are portrayed, I mean, are very much a kind of a receptacle quite often to, you know, a sexual act, really. There's nothing in there very much about love, about intimacy, about a spiritual connection, that very spiritual side of sex, which is desperately important. And, you know, I have a lot of women that are telling me that they've got anorgasmia, or their bodies aren't working properly because their bodies don't respond into the way that they've seen, you know, on the internet, because that is now the point of reference, whether we like it or not. We now know that I think it's something like 8 out of 10 14-year-olds will have watched pornography on the internet. It's on every device they have available. So we really do need to be talking about this stuff to redress that balance. Otherwise, that's where the new kind of point of reference of normal will continue to come from. So, of course, people are then trying to act out what they see. That's what people do. So, funnily enough, it doesn't work. People aren't having shattering orgasms. It's not completely amazing. I've got lots of men that are telling me, that they've got premature ejaculation. They haven't. They just can't do it the way they're seeing it in the porn movies, which, and I have to explain to them that this isn't real. And, this isn't real life. This is, a film, just in the same way when you see Independence Day on television, on the TV, when they're showing that movie, we know really that all these things haven't really been blown up. It's just because it seems to be real with the porn that's causing a lot of the problems. But what it's also doing is pornography is saturating young minds with dopamine. So what's then happening is that people are, it's that novelty. So the novelty, they're clicking from one clip to the next clip to the next clip, looking at all these different kinds of pornography. It tends to get more extreme as they do that. They need a bigger hit. And what that's actually doing is creating problems and issues with sexual function in the real world, because then it means that, sex, masturbation, arousal, orgasm becomes a very alone thing. And the whole interconnection, relationships, all those cues, things like eye gazing, all the wonderful things that we do when we make love to somebody, people aren't learning, and they're just feeling this kind of dopamine surge. And that's when we now know we know that pornography is one of the biggest causes of erectile dysfunction in young men. And the only way that it really goes away is by taking the pornography away. And it's not as harmless. It's there. It has a purpose. It's always been there. A little bit doesn't do any harm, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing people using this for hours on a daily basis, and it's causing a lot of damage to a lot of young minds, and damaging a lot of sex lives because of that. That's a long answer, wasn't it?
It was good.
We got a couple more minutes. So, Greg, you want to add anything to that, or?
I'm without words for a second. When we talk about pornography and we talk about all of that, do you find people coming for some sort of reset as a hypnotist? Is there a reset that can be done along with not watching it, but that you can give them those senses, feelings, and things back, that it's been kind of overwashed with the dopamine or numbed out by the dopamine because it needs to be increased?
Well, both. I mean, what I tend to do with those people, one is connect them back into their bodies, because it's almost like they've become quite dissociated. So, when they're watching pornography and they're masturbating, it's almost kind of over here somewhere. It's also done quite quickly usually, which isn't, it's about going from A to B as fast as possible, because there's a lot of guilt and shame around watching pornography. But the thing the two things that I do, one is actually one of the techniques that I teach on the Sexual Freedom Hypnosis program is called dopamine reset, which is about resetting the levels within the mind and body. And also it's about reconnecting somebody in with the whole body experience of sensuality and sexuality, and being able to interact and pick up on those cues from a partner, because that's the thing that's missing. It's just a visual thing. And you often hear I often get clients coming in saying the only way that they can get aroused with a partner is to imagine they're watching pornography. So in terms of connecting with their partner, they can't possibly be, can they? So it's very much about teaching them and getting them to feel stuff again.
Okay, so we're just coming to a break now, and I'm just going to say, well, see you on the other side, and come back and listen to this great show.
All right, you're clear.
Great, thanks. Awesome so far. Great.
Kaz, do you see the chat coming up for the minutes left, etc.?
I did, and I did just.
Well, as long as you see it, just so you have an idea.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. We're watching that anyway, so I just did this when it's, it's fine.
That was the thing I noticed more in fun.
Yeah.
We're going to end up going into kink at some point a little bit, right? Because that's part of the thing. Can we, address the fact that, because I know that we're using the language, which is cool, about making love and stuff, but it's not always soft and gentle. For
Definitely, that's because
and for others, it means something else. I think that'd be kind of cool to know that it's such a wide variety of what that means.
Definitely.
So do you want to
go
go over that in the
between
next
having
segment?
sex.
Or Kaz, do you want something first before then?
Sorry, what was that?
I said we can do that in the next segment or the one after, whichever one you want. So
let's do it because it's relevant. If we've been talking about the softer stuff, let's do this.
And the other thing is, I was going to say about, the young girls watching pornography, which is, like you say, mostly directed at males, that they have no idea what real sex is. And that's why they're acting out in all kinds of different ways that aren't. So the teen population is definitely a big market for helping.
Yeah, so could you mention that when you come back, you were talking about boys, but just mention the impact it has on girls in schools, so that's the only way they see, that's what they thought they have to do.
Yeah, that's what they think they have to do.
And when you guys, just a thought, when you guys are talking about kink or anything, can you bring up something about where do your desires meet the other person's desires?
Consent and
boundaries and stuff.
Boundaries.
All right, here we go, guys. About 15 seconds and we're back.
And then how the variety,
Visit Facebook.com/Voice America.
You're listening to Hypnosis Everywhere, the Simpson Protocol. To reach the show today, please call into 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to Inez, that's INES, at InezSimpson.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Well, welcome back to Hypnosis Everywhere with Kaz Riley and Greg Beckett and me. And I just want to say that so far is so great, but I just wanted to say that from my point of view of what I've seen with my clients is that young girls at the teenage, they're also highly impacted by pornography. And I was just going to get you guys to talk a little bit about that because the guys are totally impacted, but so are the girls. And
definitely. And I think, sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, I was just going to say, maybe make sure you keep your voice up. I was going to say that.
Okay, right, I'll lean forward. I think, the idea that girls don't watch pornography is a scary one. They have just the same access to the internet and exactly the same interests in sex as boys do as well. I think that's important. Although we're kind of taught that, men are a much more sexual being, that actually isn't the case, it's just not true. So, in terms of pornography, in terms of how women are treated and often portrayed in pornography, the negative impact of that is very much that's how girls are often taught, because that again is their point of reference of how they should behave, and that's how their bodies should react. And what then happens is we get girls that are on one hand being told that they can do absolutely anything in life, and then on the other hand are being told that they should act a particular way sexually. Now there are women that want and need to act that way. That's absolutely fine. Within a consenting and loving relationship, that's absolutely fine. But, it's when girls are coming into the office telling me that there's something wrong with them, that they've got anorgasmia because they're unable to orgasm, because when they do what they see in the pornography movies, their bodies aren't reacting. And, not surprisingly so, but that is where they're learning about, or not learning about, really, sensuality and about how their own bodies work. And also, even when you look at how women are portrayed in those movies in terms of things like masturbation as well, women generally don't masturbate the way that it's being portrayed in those movies. And that, again, is something that, we're kind of being taught that, it's that, again, women are not understanding how their own bodies work. And, so we're then in this situation where either it's shrouded in shame and guilt of women touching themselves, or this complete other way where somehow it's some kind of performance. And, actually it's about allowing women to connect in, and girls in particular to connect in and learn about how their own bodies work, so that then they can communicate that to somebody, when they're ready to actually have sex, which is a really important thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Piercing through the whole thing, in my viewpoint, is we're talking about the boys and the girls and stuff and pornography and things, but really it starts with the parents.
Definitely.
Doesn't it? And if we can get because it's more than likely it's an adult coming to me, not kids and stuff. Not that they're not available or whatever, we don't see them as hypnotists in general. But if the parents, if they can learn to not have shame, and we can be unshameful or open in hearing and whatever it is that they like, that it opens a whole communication line for parents to be able to teach their kids that, hey, you might be watching this, but this is not the average. This is like going to whatever fantasy world you want to go to, like you were talking about the movies or whatever. This is not reality. There's breaks and cuts.
Martin said Mission Impossible.
And splices and all sorts of stuff in this movie.
Absolutely.
It's not reality. And that I'm sure women do too. But I know men tend to use pornography and masturbation stuff many times as procrastination, stress release, all sorts of things that have nothing to do with sex, really, or connection. And then when they go back to trying to have a connection, it's difficult at times, it's for them. And so that's where you're talking about the dopamine and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a fine line, with libido. There is the kind of rule of use it or lose it as well, isn't there, So, we know that the more positive experiences you have with sex and sexuality, the more you're likely to want more of it. That's the other thing. So it's about finding that balance. But, in terms of what you're saying about a lot of this starts with the parents or education of children from their parents about, it's just an openness, isn't it? And I think, that's one of the reasons actually that I will actually see some of my clients is that they're actually parents and they realize they've got some of their own hang-ups and ideas about sex that they're now passing on to their children, and they don't actually want their children to have those hang-ups or that embarrassment, so that's often the starting point where people come to seek therapy, to just be able to move forward with their own kind of mindset about sexuality and sex.
And the idea of using hypnosis compared to talk therapy or anything is because we bypass all that and we get into where it's important to change those things. Absolutely. And help people with changing those. I mean, I don't know, I told you this story before on the thing is that, I'm having the best sexual time of my life at 65 because I've learned my way through my patterning from my parents. And, sex is dirty, all that stuff. And you think that, the old thinking was when I was a teenager that, wow, when you hit 40 or something, you must be really old. And, it must, and people don't like to think of their kids having sex, but the kids don't like thinking of their parents having sex. And we should all just get over it. In that part.
With social conditioning, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's
totally.
It's one of those things where, it's going to take a long time, I think, for us to get over that. But, we're definitely going in the right direction. And certainly now, because we know things like hypnosis is so amazing in this area, because it allows us to clear away a lot of these blocks and also allows us to, we can enhance feelings and we can change things around and, we can connect in, that mind-body connection that we get with hypnosis anyway is so amazing, isn't it? That, it all aids to move everything in the right direction. And just to be talking about it, the fact that we're having this conversation is a really wonderful and amazing thing, isn't it? And, hopefully it will get other people talking about, even if they're just talking to their partner about what they want and what they need. That's half of it, isn't it? It's communication. But a lot of people aren't even confident in talking about sex even with their own partner.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of communication, and since that's what we do as hypnotists, what about communication you're talking about in what you want? And there's such a wide variety of what people want. Mm-hmm. And how do you find someone that wants to do to you or with you what you would like done to you or two that, there's all these constructs and stuff. And there's a misconception too about communication in the kink community too, which is actually usually more communicative. So can we kind of go there a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of kink, I think the whole world could learn massive positive lessons about communication and consent from the kink community. In terms of just how they negotiate, and they talk about things so openly. And are able to negotiate what's going to happen, how they want something to happen, what their limits are, what they definitely don't want to happen. And this is all negotiated before anything happens. And
can I just interrupt for 2 seconds? Because I'm thinking some of the population won't even know what kink means. Can you sort of just give them a little bit of that, just so they know what we're talking about?
Okay. Kink is ever evolving. So really, it's anything out of what people would deem or term, I guess, normal sex, if you like, as in between two people. What normal is
sorry.
That's the thing. And, we only have to look at how much more open we are now than say we were 20 or 30 years ago. Sexual norms are evolving and are changing all the time. So I guess it's anything out of, one person's kinky is another person's normal.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
right.
That's the thing. So I guess it's about anything different. So things like fetishes might seem to be kinky. So a fetish would normally be something that isn't normally seen as sexual, but where somebody gets some kind of sexual arousal or needs to have that there to get sexual arousal. So a lot of the typical things are like bondage and leather, all kinds of things, but you can have a fetish about just about anything, really.
Airbrushing someone's hair could be a fetish to someone.
Absolutely, yeah. So so anything that's not within what I guess we're taught in sex ed at school, really, probably could be seen as kinky.
Okay, great.
I like the fact that one person's kinky could be the other person's normal, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the degree of anything either, because somebody doesn't know the difference. Maybe they've only had one partner, and then they find themselves divorced or whatever, or starting to explore with their partner with consent or whatever, and find all these other things that they just never knew existed or even thought of, that they're like, oh, where have you been my whole life? Who knows?
Absolutely. And this is it, isn't it? It's about, I think if that's the other thing, with communication comes exploration and, the evolution within a relationship as well. And of course, we're talking about, dopamine also plays a major role in kind of that connection. We talk about the honeymoon period, don't we, when a couple are first together, and how that can wane down to sometimes absolutely nothing. And we know novelty is one of the key factors in keeping that spark alive. So being able to communicate with somebody and to explore keeps that alive. So you often see couples that communicate tend to have a lot more sex and great sex, and be able to talk about what great sex means to them as a couple, than say somebody that, or a couple that aren't having sex anymore, which, and as we've already said, it's such an important part of being a human being. Even if it's just our sexuality and our sensual feelings, even if we're not with a partner at the time, it's still an important part of us, isn't it?
And besides the sexual feelings of it, the connectedness between couples when you have sex and communicate, it changes, and it's incredible. And that goes even into what I would call a spiritual realm.
Absolutely, yeah. And it is a very spiritual thing, isn't it? I mean, it's such an exchange of energy between two people, isn't it? And sharing such an intimate space and such an intimate experience, and being open to do that. If you being shut away and closed off, isn't it? Isn't going to help that. So if we can teach people to be open with the people they choose to be open with, then, you know, things move forward in the most wonderful way.
That's the key word, isn't it? Choice and choosing.
Right.
I love those words.
Choice and consent, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing as a hypnotist, would you think that, because I'm just sitting here thinking as I'm hearing all of this, because it's not like my population is always about sex. I have a few and I'm in LA, whatever. But would you think my thought process is the number one thing if we did is take away shame and guilt would then allow so much communication and freedom. As hypnotists, take away the guilt and shame.
So we're going to come back and address that. So I'm just going to get you to repeat it when we come back because we're already going to another break. See you on the other side.
All right, you're clear.
That's awesome so far. Good.
Greg, can you talk more about that, Greg and Kaz? So why, as a hypnotist, don't you fix these people? You know, a person listening think, or do you ever get
How can we help is what you're saying.
Sorry?
What you're saying is how do we help them?
Yes, but a listener might think, oh, do you ever get a client coming in saying, I have this, you know, weird sexual thing, can you get rid of it for me? You know, they ever feel, do you know what I mean? Then you go on about, do you ever get a client wanting something fixed, and you say, no, you don't need that fixed, you need to embrace it or whatever.
All right, well, I don't know. Maybe to have that conversation anyway.
Well, I know I had someone contact me that wanted me to help them like their fetish more.
Right.
And I didn't work with them. I'm going to start over so Kaz can hear me. I had someone contact me because they wanted to like their fetish even more.
Okay.
And I thought if they have judgment on it that they don't like it so much, what's the real issue? Right? If you need someone to help you like it more, do you really like it?
Yeah. Yeah, there is a thing, isn't there, with hypnosis that you can give somebody a fetish, so maybe that would be, I suspect that might be, it wasn't their fetish, it was somebody else's fetish.
Right, so they didn't come to see me because I started questioning, not judgment, but why would you need, if it's something you really like, why do you need to like it more? Why is how you're liking it so fully not enough? Does that make sense?
On that one. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
You know, because we can increase, some people are into pain and that can be increased, or some people are into, this was just a different kind of fetish that, and then also I had suspect because then they wanted me to participate, to prove that it works, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, Greg, at some point you have to talk to his community.
Yeah. So did you hear that? At one point we can talk about the LGBT. We got 2 more segments, so it's only like 16.
All right, coming back in 15 seconds.
Okay, so you guys just start where you started off and get Kaz to reply, okay?
All right.
You're listening to Hypnosis Everywhere, the Simpson Protocol. To reach the show today, please call into 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to Inez, that's INES, at InezSimpson.com. Now, back to this week's program.
So welcome back, and I'm not going to waste any time. So Greg, can you sort of lead off from where we left off, please?
Sure. I was saying about as hypnotists and the work that we do, how we can help just taking away guilt and shame, which allows better communication. So working with that through hypnosis and the client opening up, and that would just open up a lot of their life, not just talking sexually, but in that, since we are talking about sex and kink and all that kind of stuff, how much that would, taking away the guilt and shame, would open their lives to their partner and their variety and their expression.
Definitely. I mean, again, as part of the Sexual Freedom Hypnosis Program, guilt and shame are 2 of the key things that we work with. I think actually they're probably 2 of the key things that we work with in hypnosis in general, aren't they? You know, guilt and shame, you know, the fear of what other people might think, that something is wrong, something that we've been taught, but especially with sex and sexually related things, you know, I mean, the key ones, the ones that we often see, isn't it? Sex is dirty and You know, sex is wrong. Nice girls and good girls don't have sex. You know, boys should be having sex all the time. You know, these are some of the misconceptions that are put out there. And
some people say sex is dirty, and they're like, absolutely, I hope so.
Yeah, well, there is that as well. That's a slightly different mindset, though. That's a much better mindset, I would say.
That's someone's preference. I hope it's sweaty. I hope it's all of these things or whatever, you know.
And that's fun dirty, isn't it? A bit of dirty sex. There's nothing wrong with that. What we're talking about is the feeling that somehow it makes you dirty. There's something wrong with you. It kind of mars you in some way, if that's what you like to do. And you know, and there are, you know, and we're talking about this within people's own kind of belief systems as well. So if somebody is a devout Catholic that doesn't believe in marriage before sex, that's absolutely fine. You know, that we're not going to tell them that they should do. But what I often find is that then I'll have, you know, the person that then has got married and still can't have sex and still can't let go because that belief system is in there. So it's about helping people to let go of that, isn't it? Because when we allow ourselves to be the natural sexual beings that we all are, then, you know, some really magical things happen, don't they? In all kinds, whatever kind of sex it is that you like and enjoy, it's about being able to let go of that, and guilt and shame, you know. Who is it? Is it if you look at Brene Brown's stuff, you know, the power of vulnerability. I mean, nothing more is truer in terms of a sexual encounter, isn't it? We make ourselves very vulnerable, and a lot of it is about letting go of shame and allowing ourselves not to feel that, and to feel all the amazing stuff that goes with it. I'm blabbering at you, aren't I?
No. We're enthralled and
yes,
mystified, in our own minds, fantasizing about what experiences. I know I am going, how I've let go as I've changed and grown, and how satisfying it's been when I find a partner that we match and it's consent, and you're just saying, oh, wow, and I can ask for this. And this has come with time and age and confidence in myself as a person, and confidence as a sexual being, being able to express and ask, and also saying, no, thanks, I think that's enough, you know, forever, or with that person, or in that day or time or moment. And speaking of no, there's people talk about safety words. When it comes, and I want to talk about this for a second, because people talk about safety words in kink and stuff, that's their limit. And typically it's not no, and that's not a safety word, and stop. Yet here we are in this movement of no and consent and things. So that's a very interesting thing, that people have to be very clear in their communication.
Absolutely.
In what they're doing and what they're saying, and respectful in their liberation of themselves with others. You know, I mean, how can we not take 2 seconds for that, because it's such an important thing right now. Do you have anything?
Well, absolutely. I think, you know, within the kink community, for example, as you say, you know, there's the use of things like safe words, or often actually a traffic light system, which is the red, amber, green. So there's even a warning.
Thank you for that one.
You know, a warning that's given. If somebody's getting near their limits. I guess the thing as well within the kink community is that people have already disclosed what their hard limits are, and they're limits that shouldn't be gone near in any circumstances.
And not negotiated while they're in the middle of something, because of the dopamine and everything. I'm going to throw something out real quick that just popped in my head that a client taught me, which I thought was really wonderful. Anybody can go on the internet and find a yes, no, maybe list. A yes, no, maybe list is, in one column is all the sexual things that they can possibly think of, and they can add to it because you can print it out and stuff. Then there's a yes, no, maybe column, and 2 partners go off on their own and fill out yes, no, maybe of what their preferences are. And then come together and compare. And it's a way of having answers and then have notes. Why is this a maybe? Why is this a no? And it opens communication to all. And you want to make sure if you have some sort of kink or fetish or what you think might be a kink or fetish and you want to do it with the partner but you're afraid to say, put it on the list. You can blame it on the list, right?
Absolutely.
You've heard of this, have you not, Kaz?
I have. I actually use this with some of my clients that are, are trying to reconnect. So I do work with couples that are having issues sexually and often get them to do this. And it's really interesting. Some of
they find out they actually have things in common sexually
Absolutely.
that they've never expressed to each other.
But they've never disclosed it. They've never communicated that. And sometimes, actually, the way that I do that is use something called mutual hypnosis. So I'll hypnotize a couple together and get them to talk to each other whilst in hypnosis. So we take away a lot of the barriers. And they can, it's a way of complementing each other. But I really believe that with hypnosis anyway, we're sharing a kind of a hypnotic space. We're connecting on many, many levels. So it's about that reconnection. And that yes, no, maybe list often comes up in there, or a form of that.
It's fantastic. And I've done it with many clients, or had them when they're in a new relationship and they're saying, well, I don't know. I say, well, have a fun date at home, with with their partner, and have a dinner and come together with the list and go over it and laugh about it. And why would you want to do that? They have such a good time.
Absolutely.
Because it has everything to do with them, but it's still a separation in that they can feel safe that it's about the list. And oh my gosh, that's about you? You like that? All those sorts of things. It's really a lot of fun.
And they need to do that regularly, because that list evolves as you get to know somebody. As you just get older, your tastes change, don't they? So that's the other thing, is that you kind of need to keep, or you just get to a point where you can communicate really well with your partner, and that feels really good then, because you can say, this is what I need, or do you know what, I saw this today and maybe we should try it. And actually that's quite an exciting thing to do, isn't it? That little text that gets sent to your partner and they're like, that, whoa, wow, how amazing.
It feels exciting now just thinking about it. And that's part of the flirty things, and it's interesting on some dating websites and things. They have questionnaires for you to fill out about all sorts of things, and one of them says, what do you think about making love? And one of the answers, it's a specific kind of sex. They'll ask about kinks and different things. Do you want someone that's more experienced than you? If they've had X amount of partners, let's say they're 20, what do you think of them? And some people, it's really amazing. Some people say too many, not enough. And some people say as many as they need to know that they're secure and comfortable in their sexuality that I'd like to have as a partner.
Yeah.
It's not about numbers. It's not about shame or guilt or any of that stuff. It's just about being.
Well, but again, this is a thing, isn't it? When we look at shame and guilt, it creeps up everywhere, doesn't it? Even to how many sexual partners have you had or have you not had? There's, what is the right number? I mean, it's this crazy idea, isn't it?
And what do they consider to be a sexual partner? How far did they go? Like someone might go on 2 dates with somebody and say that's an ex-boyfriend. That's their perception. Someone else say, I never lived with them. We dated for 6 years. I never lived with them, so they were never really a partner. Everyone has their own perception of what partners, meaning sexual partners or anything is. And it's like if a CEO had 12 jobs before he became a CEO, no one's going to say, oh my God, you had 12 jobs. They're going to be like, congratulations on being a CEO, And if you look
but here's the thing, if they just walked in and became the CEO, they'd be like, oh wow, you've got no experience. How could you possibly do this job?
I bought the position. And it's really trial and error too. And if you're having shame around trial and error on all sorts of things, I having this conversation, I think everyone has quote unquote a kink, a fetish, or something that's unexpressed. And it's being comfortable with ourselves, that where we come in. Forget about that, what I'm saying. Kaz, what do you think is the best way as hypnotists, or how you had an interesting story about, or you mentioned earlier about a trigger to help someone orgasm because they couldn't, so to speak.
We've only got 1 minute left, so if you can explain in that minute, that'd be awesome. Or we
That was-
can continue in the next break.
Okay, so basically, a client that had had a physical accident, so he was unable to have an erection anymore, and basically what we did with that was I taught his wife how to give him a hypnotic orgasm because he knows how that felt. So. Basically they could still do all the wonderful, amazing, sensual things, and they could still experience that togetherness, but he could still feel that feeling of climax because of his wife, with a simple hypnotic trigger, which is amazing, isn't it?
So you gave her the trigger he has the trigger, but you taught her what the trigger was to initiate in him when it's time for them to climax, so that he would have sensual feelings too with that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to the break and we'll continue this interesting conversation on the other side. Thank you.
All right, you're clear.
Josh, how much? We've got about 9 minutes, 8 minutes in the last segment. Are you there? Okay, say you got about 8 minutes. So it's a short segment.
It's going to be short. It's going to go fast. And I think we should do another show.
Give me 1 second. I got a phone call I got to answer.
Okay.
Just let us know. So this is a sort of a sum up for the listener. Okay, you're a listener. We should put out their emails or something so they can connect with these guys.
Do anything. And Martin will also, anything you want posted, you send it to us and we'll put it on the show page.
Okay.
So that it's always
Sorry about that. What were you asking?
So how long have we got in the last segment? 9 minutes, 8 minutes?
I'm sorry. I'm having trouble hearing you, sir. Speak up just a little bit.
What have we got for the last segment? 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 7 minutes?
It's just like normal. Depending on your
9.
commercials, it'll be 9.
Yeah, okay.
Between 10 minutes, depending on commercials you have.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Okay. It goes unbelievably fast, doesn't it?
Doesn't it, Joe?
For the listener.
I like it.
There is no.
Oh, yeah. And just maybe reiterate that there is no normal.
Greg, your community, the LGBT community, or the
Yeah, for the regular
or a regular person.
listeners, And so it's sort of a tying up everything and explaining anything else that you missed that fits in, because we need another program, I think, later to do another one. It's awesome. So anything, Kaz, that you're missing on that we've allowed you to chat about?
I don't think so, not without starting a whole new big conversation. I think if I reiterate what sexual freedom is.
Would it be possible for you to mention some of the things that you've done or treated so it gives people triggers or ideas?
Yeah, maybe that would be a good idea.
Not real clinical, because as we talked about before when we talked the other day, they don't know what the clinical is.
Okay, yeah.
Like sometimes people are having issue orgasming, so I help them with that, or erectile dysfunction that seems to be emotional.
I could lead in from what we were just talking about. Yeah. It's not just about cigarette. Okay.
That'd be great. And I think that goes on through, and then we'll just finish it by whatever happens at the wherever you go. It's my great show. I don't have to do much. Next week we have Tony Kiprius from Australia. You remember Tony?
All right, we're coming back in 10 seconds.
SimpsonProtocol.com. Talk soon.
You're listening to Hypnosis Everywhere, the Simpson Protocol. To reach the show today, please call into 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to Inez, that's INES, at InezSimpson.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Well, welcome back. And I'm not going to take up too much airtime because we've got so much to talk about. I'm going to go straight back to the conversation we were having. So I think that was you, Kaz, the triggers.
We were talking about the gentleman that had the physical accident and was then unable to get an erection, and that was a physical thing. So we connected him back in with those feelings and gave him a hypnotic trigger that his wife's then able to use when they were having their connecting intimate sexual time. So that was great. But there's lots of things. I think sometimes people just think about hypnosis in terms of stop smoking and weight loss and all that kind of stuff. And of course, it's so much more than that. And certainly in terms of sexual freedom. So when we're talking about sexual freedom, in terms of that ability to choose, and I think it's that choice. Sexual dysfunction takes away so much choice from people. It stops them from even entering into relationships. A good example of that is a really wonderful lady that I worked with last year that had a condition called vaginismus, which is basically where when penetration is attempted, whether that's with a penis or with a tampon or anything, that the vaginal muscles will just clamp down tight shut, so absolutely nothing can get in there. And she'd actually been married for 6 years, and they'd had what she would call their sex, and she was able to orgasm but wasn't able to be penetrated, but wasn't entering into, after her divorce, kind of worked through her divorce, but still wasn't entering into any new relationships because, I quote, "I'm not a real woman." And I can't follow through. It's like being the biggest tease on the world. I just can't actually do what's expected of me. And, all we did with that is I did something called, I call it yoni-directed hypnosis, which is a technique that we use, which is about putting all that energy back into that feminine space and make it very empowering. And just with hypnosis, just relaxed all the vaginal muscles. And, I got a phone call 2 days after we did that session. It was kind of like, wow, I've had sex for the first time in my life, age 32. So, it's stuff like that as well. And things like people not being able to orgasm. And a lot of that's about guilt and shame and about holding on and the fear of being watched or that somebody will know. And that's
let me throw this in. The fear of my dead grandmother watching me.
Exactly. Yeah, I get that so often. And also things like, we were talking about bad or past experience. So if you've experienced pain sexually that's not a pain that you want or like, then you get something called the fear, tension, pain cycle. So the thing that caused you pain, if that was sex, as soon as you get to the point where you're about to have sex, then people will tense up. And of course, if you tense up, the adrenaline kicks in. It's not a good kind of adrenaline. The libido goes flying out the window. So, I mean, there's just so much that we can do. I always say great sex starts in the mind. That's where it starts. That's where our fantasies are. That's where our thoughts are. That's where we notice the person that we're attracted to. And it's then being able to allow our bodies to follow all of that. And if we can do that in the absence of guilt and shame, and we can allow ourselves to feel that really wholeheartedly and wonderfully, then whatever kind of sex it is that we like and we enjoy, or sensuality, it enhances our lives on every level. And it makes us happier. It improves our immune system. There's nothing not to like about it, really, is there?
No. Anything else you want to add to that, Greg?
We still know that there's no such thing as definition of normal and not normal. I think that's important because, if for someone, a feather in the bed with them is so normal, and someone else says, "Oh my God, a feather!" Oh my gosh. It gets down to communication and confidence. And I know for me, I'll put it out there, is that as I become more confident and willing and open in my sexuality and my communication, in my life, I've become more confident. Yeah. It goes hand in hand of moving forward, in growth. It's all encompassing, every piece of it. It can't be, this is a pocket that I'm never going to touch again. This is an area, but it's, So anyway, go ahead, Kaz or And then, so we're
No,
winding up.
Kaz, you want to tie this up now because we really only it goes too fast.
Well,
Just tie it up.
I think, if I was speaking to, anybody out there, hypnotist or not, whether, if you're, it's very much about not worrying about what other people think. I think that's the thing that stops us enjoying our sex lives, and certainly stops people from seeking out help when they need help. And to let people know that there are people like us out there that, there's nothing that you can say that's going to shock us. We're not going to run away screaming. We're not going to judge you. We're here to help you, and we're here to help you connect back in, first of all, with yourself, and then with whomever you choose to. And, even this very thing, the whole sexual freedom hypnosis thing, that was the thing I had to get over was, I was going to go out there and speak to the world about sex and sexuality. What would people think? And, it was my husband that just turned around to me and said, well, they're just going to think, darling, that, we have an amazing sex life. And we do. So, kind of to put those, that's what we need to do, that it's okay to enjoy all this. In fact, it's how it should be. We should be able to enjoy one of the most fundamental things about being a human being, isn't it?
I'm going to say this really quickly, very quickly, is that if you go to someone and you're not comfortable, go to someone else and someone else. That's just the universe, God, whatever your belief system is, sending you to the person that's right for you.
And I'll just say one more thing is, because we have 1 minute left, in that, with people that come to us, we have all kinds of things that people say to us. And they say, well, they're the first person that didn't judge us. So understand you need to go see someone who you feel won't judge you. And I have to say that the show isn't over, but I think we may have to do another one in the future because this has been so interesting. And next week, Tony Kiprius from Australia will be joining us. And he's a great hypnotist also. And he's just a wonderful guy. And I don't even remember, and I can't tell you in all the few seconds I have left what we're going to talk about, but you join us and you'll find out, right? And thanks for joining us today, and thanks, Kaz, and thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again soon.
All right, you're clear. Great job, everybody.
Thanks. All right. So that was awesome, I have to say, and I'm not kidding about another show, because really, there's so much more, isn't there, to talk about, or not? What do to talk about or not? What do you guys think?
I think if we could continue from this, meaning
Yeah.
like if you want to listen at it, listen to this, but we're talking about, maybe we could be a subject on what is normal, what's normal, and what are the different things.
Yeah.
Or at gender and sexuality, how they, because we talk about LGBTQ, which I'm going to do that talk at HypnoThoughts, is really about what do we need? Just like anybody else, we probably have PTSD from just childhood, like everybody else, but from being ourselves. So we've hidden ourselves. So then there's confidence about being,
the limiting beliefs affect everything.
The great thing, Greg, is because it is a podcast, it's easy to say this is part 2 and refer them back to the other one. So you just easy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
In fact, there could be a whole series because there's so many topics with this, isn't there?
Well, we're open to that. We've got another. No, well, I don't know. I don't think Kaz will be. These guys will be tied up pretty much. We have an opening that me and Martin are doing a show by ourselves on the 15th. I could always open that, or we can do it later after HypnoThoughts, or
15th of August.
Yeah.
I'm here the 15th. I'm okay.
Yeah.
What's interesting?
Holidays here, so I'm a bit freer because I'm just taking a bit of time to be with the 15th. Yeah, this time of day I'm free.
Let's do it.
Let's do it then.
We'll do a part 2.
Great.
We'll do part 2, and we'll blast that out that it was so good that we're doing part 2,
Put this one up.
and we'll put it up and really post it out and everything, and because I think it's great.
I just had a client pop in my head who came to me about a lot of other stuff, and she's getting ready to go back to her boyfriend. She's going to drive home to go to her boyfriend's stuff. She goes, I can't orgasm when he has oral sex with me. I get close, but I just can't. I say, sit back in the chair. And we did some stuff, and she goes, I got to go now. But, because we got past that hurdle of that being able to orgasm, and it's okay because that's what he wants. It's not anything bad or horrible because that's where he is orally. That's what and she's like, oh, but it was interesting that popped in my head. That's a story we can use too, because it's like, it was an afterthought for her, and we took care of it like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it,
That was very lovely, and I enjoyed it immensely, and I enjoy both of you. So I'm lucky to get to see you, Kaz, in November, and you hopefully in September, Greg, maybe.
I don't think I can come up. Remember, I got.
That's right. Yeah, Sherry's there. But I might see you on video or something, I guess.
When are you going to? Are you planning a trip to Australia?
Yeah, I'm going right after the UK convention. Well, I'm going to Ireland right after, and then I'm going from there to Australia. Yeah.
You know dates for Australia?
Yeah.
Text them to me or email them to me, because maybe we can go at the same time.
That'd be awesome.
It's about the 3rd week of November through till the 2nd or 3rd week of December.
So November, December is when you're going, which is, it depends on what I got going on though, because I have that, the other business and stuff. But that would be cool if I could go. And if you're teaching,
or even part of it at the time that we're there at the same time.
I could, like, if you're going to teach a class in Sydney or
Perth,
Melbourne.
Brisbane, probably, and also Melbourne. Yeah.
Yeah, because maybe I can go at the same time and help for some of it or something like that.
That would be
And I go to the
astounding.
beach.
And he goes, no, he still has to help.
Well,
Kaz,
but
the
what-
guy
I mean,
has to
in
do
the-
all the
in the-
work,
in
and
the
he
podcast
always
stuff.
looks like he says he doesn't do anything. But, he does more than anybody.
But because if you do that, I can go back again if you don't have a trainer, and unless Tony's going to be your trainer.
Why are you going?
I
you
have
moving
no
to
clue
Australia?
yet.
Well, because I have a lot of friends and stuff in Australia now, so I can go back again once we
I
set
like
up.
that idea, because I'm saying to Martin, these long trips are not easy. So usually when I go into a country, Kaz, I have to do like 1 or 2 myself before I get a trainer going and stuff that I can really feel like they're got the philosophy and the whole deal. And so, yeah, I'll take you up on that, I'm thinking.
I'm going to see. I have to see if I can. It's just a thought that popped in my head, but I didn't know it was November, December. But we'll see then.
No, not about that. I meant about going back.
Yeah, because
Both of you guys, sorry to cut in. Both of you guys are going to be at HypnoThoughts. Are you both? Kaz, you at HypnoThoughts? So this is the week, the 15th, the week before HypnoThoughts. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we'll push the last minute push. And I guess maybe we'll give Steen a plug too.
No, I was just thinking he's in the LGBT.
There's enough for everybody to go around.
Oh, absolutely. I'm hoping to connect with Steen. We've kind of passed each other and waved, but I've never sat down and had a good conversation.
Well, he's a little more shy about it than Greg and me, maybe. But and even though he works with it a lot, in fact, because he's the only one that really posted on his website.
So, Kaz, I'll make sure that we're going to connect. We've already connected, so we're good, right?
Yeah.
This has been done. This is a done deal for you and I, right?
Yeah.
We're siblings. So I will
have dinner, aren't we?
Yeah, and we will invite Steen.
Cool.
To the dinner or whatever, maybe, or if he's willing. We're just now getting connected, Steen and I. He wants to come. He's supposed to come to town after HypnoThoughts, and I'll take him to some bars and stuff because he hadn't been to any bars or anything, gay bars and stuff in LA, in the US at all.
Right.
I don't think he's in a pretty relatively comfortable relationship, and I think they've sort of left that part behind the gay bars and things, but I think they would think it was fun. They would think it was fun.
Yeah.
Well,
but like when people come, there's certain bars that are really cool. They have go-go boys, go-go girls, go-go trans, and it's fun to watch the people. It's not about picking up or anything.
No.
It's about, wow, this is awesome.
I'm sure they'd love it, Greg. I really do. Maybe Kaz.
When you come in, Nancy, we'll be taking you to the bar too.
I'm with you. I'm married but bisexual, so.
Well, come on. We have and there's it's really interesting. Some of the bars. That one's very mixed, male, female, straight, gay, all of it. And then there's the gay bars for guys, and then the women have their bars. But some of the gay bars, it's because there's the leather community, then there's the twinks, then there's the this, then there's the that, and there's also I know some people connected to them is a lot of dungeons and things like that, and there's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I need some more education.
and when people go to these things, it's not about you have to participate.
No.
You could just watch. You could just
Well, a lot of it's about education as well. I know I teach at a lot of fetish events and fetish nights because a lot of people use hypnosis within their relationships. They don't want to be hypnotists. They just want to use it as part of the dynamics. And one of the things that I realized, this was a massively untapped market, was that there wasn't really anybody teaching them how to do it properly. So that was so I'd go out and do demos and all kinds of stuff.
But is that what your class will also teach, or no?
Say that again?
Is that also what your 2-day post class will teach, or no?
It will teach, no, it's mainly the dysfunction stuff. It's a 2-day class. I mean, I talk about that, but I have to separate it all out, otherwise the whole erotic hypnosis and it all just gets all kind of blurry. And actually what I've been trying to do is do this, because the thing that's been stopping a lot of people getting help with hypnosis for the sexual issues is because they think it's erotic hypnosis. And the thing that stops a lot of hypnotists from working in that arena is because they're seeing it as erotic hypnosis. And
do you have videos on your website that explain the difference? And then where you have a section for your erotic, you say, this is what it is and not. And then when it's for help, this is what it is and what it's not.
That's the project that I'm working on at the moment, actually.
Yeah.
So
because I think of all of us going back to the hiding situation of who we are and stuff, we were talking about that, Kaz and I, how the more we have to be ourselves so that people can find us that want us and not being ashamed ourselves and stuff. But we have I don't know how many people have been excited to find out, because I put up some videos of myself on my website.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, because they feel like they know you and what your energy and style is, so they can pick easier.
Yeah.
Get along with you, and it's a good filter for us.
Absolutely.
Not have to run to people that don't know us.
It's important, I think, because it's not even, and I think it's those kinds of videos, and the other videos that I've been doing are, this is what vaginismus is, this is what erectile dysfunction is, this is what this is, lots of, you're not alone kind of stuff, which I think is really important. And it's just that connection isn't it, with other people. And
once they see you on the video and stuff, they know whether they feel like they can trust you or not. They get that feeling already.
Well, rapport gets definitely created, and that's why it's so important to do what we're doing. And pre-talk, no matter what it's about, sexual or not, You know, I remember when I first started hypnosis, I kept getting this thing from more clinically oriented friends, or, you know, supposedly scientific or whatever. And they would say, well, yes, you must not show that side of you. You should be professional. And I said, well, what do you think professional means to you? To me, it means being me. And it means me being me at the best, so people can know if they want to come see me or not. I don't want people to come see me who are not going to have rapport with me. So it doesn't make sense to be someone else. I'm just going to be me. You know.
Well, this is the thing. It was interesting because Greg picked up on. It was kind of saying to me yesterday, weren't you? You know, you seem a lot freer, and there's not as many barriers there.
I had said to Kaz, I said we met last year, and we had talked for a while. And I said, what happened between this year and last year? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, because you're different now than you were when I met you last year. And then she explained that, you know, being herself. Is that what you were saying about?
Yeah, it's kind of like just being myself, but also it was that thing of I'd come under, when I initially started doing this, I'd come under a little bit of flack from some of the hypno community. And, you know, basically then flew halfway around the world to the world's biggest hypnosis conference to talk about kink-friendly hypnosis. I was kind of like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And actually was really overwhelmed, but in a very good way. I wasn't ready for the amount of people that knew who I were. That has been, this year has just blown my mind. You know, it's, you know, there's so many people that have been in touch, and it's all really positive and wonderful, but I had no idea. I really had no idea. So as I said to you, like this year I'll go in, I'll probably seem a lot more friendly, but I was really waiting for this kind of onslaught, but I was kind of like, and I thought it might be negative, but actually, you know, I got a very nice surprise. But, you know, there were barriers up, because I was just like, I'm ready for you. My arm is on, and I'm still going to do this.
Yeah, you're expecting the negative onslaught. Yeah. So that's the difference this year. Great. Yeah. Awesome.
Right.
I'm going to love you and leave you. I know you need to probably go see your family, and you can better talk.
And Nez, I need to ask you a quick question while I have you, and you're more than welcome to stay, Kaz, or go, whatever. I want to do a video to put on HypnoThoughts Live.
Yep.
And I, in America, when a politician has a commercial, at the end they say, I am so-and-so, and I support this message, right? So I wanted to do a video for HypnoThoughts to get people to still come to that pre-course. And then if Martin could splice in at the end, I'm Inez, and I'm Inez of Simpson Protocol, and I support this message.
Love to.
I thought that would be fun, because I'm going to try to be a bit serious and stuff, but then have you come in at the end and do that. So would that be possible?
It sure would be. We'll do that. Make sure I say the right thing. I'm Inez.
Yeah, I'll get the phrase for you. So I'm going to look at some political ads, because, you know, it's always about that.
I've heard it. I've heard it actually on, you know, American television.
It's a kind of a joke, because it's like, it's all such bullshit, but they always make fun of it because they do it very stilted. I'm so-and-so, and I support this ad.
Okay, I'll try to be as stilted as possible.
Well, you know what, you just be yourself. That's all that's what they're looking for.
I'm going to disappear. Can I just say thank you so much for inviting me to do this, and you're just so lovely.
Oh, see you too. So see you on the 15th.
Some people's freak is some people's normal.
Goodbye, Kaz, and I'll see you on the 15th again. I'm looking forward to it.
Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day, won't you?
Okay.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks, ladies. Bye. Thanks, Martin.
Bye. He's already playing his guitar somewhere. Yeah, I'll get him. Martin, come back here for a minute, please.
Oh, tell him what I want to do.
Yeah. Okay. Tell him what you want us to do, and we will do to support that. Actually, you should be able to keep the clip and use it at any time you wish.
Right. So, but I'm going to talk about HypnoThoughts on it. So I'll try to maybe make it more generic. I'm trying to get more people for the pre-course, and I'm getting the people that are last minute. They're looking for a sign. Well, I'm your sign, you know. And then I want to talk about Simpson Protocol, and then then I'm going to send it to you. If you can add a clip at the end that says, "Hi, I'm Inez Simpson, and I support this message."
Just like a political ad. You want for fun,
right? So I thought that would be fun.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll do it in the next day or so, and then I'll send it to you, and then if you send it back, and I'll post it.
Can we not just do I'm Donald Trump and I support this ad? We'll put Donald Trump's.
I know. No.
Well, you know what? If we could get Inez all fake tanned with white spots and say, I'm Inez Simpson. I'm Inez Simpson and I support this stuff.
I can't even think of the guy, so let's not do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what?
Yeah.
That would work over at NGH.
Yeah. All right. Oh, and I think I saw a posting by Jason Linnett this morning talking about Tim's book, so it must be out finally.
Oh, that's good.
Tim was supposed to remind me when, so I guess we can just go to Amazon and do that and get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Thank
All right,
you.
cool.
Love
Thank
you,
so
Greg.
much.
Great.
Talk to y'all later.
Bye. Probably have to cut a lot of that end off, but